Thank you, everyone, for wonderful talks and really informative surveys there from physicians, healthcare workers, and patients, which is really almost unique, I think. Eva, you've been heavily involved with the design of this survey and interpreting it. Would you like to sort of bring out your views, but perhaps also put some of our faculty on the spot as to what, if anything, they were surprised about?
Yes, I think something which was extremely, I think, interesting and important for us was to see that both from the perspective of the physicians as well from the patient's perspective, if we speak about the priorities of the treatments, the aims of the treatment, people want to, on the one hand, live longer, but also want to have better lives. And we have seen this, that if we speak with the patients, if we speak with our colleagues, we start more and more discuss the effects of the treatment on the quality of life, on improving clinical status. Also, if we consider that our patients' population is really aging, being still trying to be as independent as possible from the others seems to be important. And this also should be, I think, considered when we treat our patients. And another very important aspect, which I would like to ask, and then we may discuss it together, is that I think one of the major limitations or obstacles of implementing drugs are, unfortunately, side effects. And the problem with side effects are particularly emphasized by GPs, which see this as a major problem, and sometimes this is the major factor which prevents from using really life-saving therapies.
If I could take up the issue of quality of life and symptoms, we all know the influential guidelines, but they can be criticized being a list of treatments designed to reduce mortality and prevent heart failure hospitalizations. How many of our guideline treatments are actually designed to make a patient feel better? And do you think we've done the best we can in that regard? Peter, you're nodding. What's your view in terms of a possible discrepancy of what patients are looking for and what we're offering?
Yeah, so I think the survey is really revealing. And so the patients tell us that, yes, the survival is important, but quality of life is even more important. The GPs tell us, in fact, side effects is what they see. And I really think that our guidelines and also the grading of the guidelines very much predicated in terms of the survival benefit, right? So that's how we really prioritize these treatments. But at the same time, on the real world side, we really actually need to consider how the patient is actually responding to these medications, and every patient is unique. And I think it's really up to us now to really harmonize these two competing priorities and to make sure that, and I think Michelle and the others have indicated very importantly in terms of the personalization of treatment. We are now, having a number of choices, and we really need to take this into consideration and to make sure that the patient can benefit from the survival, but at the same time, looking after their improved quality of life. And I absolutely agree that the current guidelines don't emphasize enough on the quality of life aspect.
Anyone else have an opinion on that regard? I mean, is it always going to be the case that we need to do economically valuable hard endpoints, or can we actually develop treatments that are purely symptom-based?
Well, if I may interject, Andrew, I think that for the future guidelines, we should probably give more space to the patient's voice when we are drafting guidelines. And I think this survey highlights the fact that what we consider rather as secondary, which is quality of life or, let's say, symptom limitation, is really a high priority for our patients. So one way of handling that might be to give more space to patients when we are drafting guidelines, because they may have a very different perspective from physicians.
Andrew, I just go ahead, Lars.
Yeah, I think, let's not forget that proper use of loop diuretics really helps the patient's symptoms and quality of life. So that's certainly something that is in the guideline and that is available primarily for symptom relief. And then I think in terms of the top line medications in our guidelines, they were not, Andrew, designed, I think, to improve symptoms. And they do so only secondarily. In other words, if they do improve symptoms, they do so by blocking the progression of heart failure and in part reversing the progression of heart failure. But I do think that the future will see novel contractile agents, either inotropes or myotropes, that unlike most existing ones, will not be harmful and can improve quality of life and functional capacity, and are also feasible for regulatory approval. So I do think that there is a shift among most stakeholders in that direction.
I would just add that in our 2021 Canadian Cardiovascular Society guidelines, I went back, I was specifically looking at the SGLT2 inhibitor guideline, and it does highlight in the guideline the improvement in symptoms and quality of life. So, we are factoring in more than just clinical endpoints in the design of our guideline statements. I think we're seeing in some international guideline groups the addition of patient representatives, and there are regulatory bodies such as the FDA out there who have stated that they will approve therapies based on improvements in quality of life. And I think that that is the voice of our patients coming forward and saying there are other priorities that are important to us as well.
Thanks very much. It's great to remind us the voice of the patients is paramount in managing this disease. But I might hand over to Eva, who can give our sum up and conclusions from this very interesting webinar.
Andrew, thank you very much. I think that if I would conclude, I would first of all say that we are facing really the growing burden of heart failure, which is, although there are some differences across countries, it's really a global problem. We are quite lucky because currently there are many treatments that can really, let's say, improve outcomes, that can improve quality of life, which we see is more and more important, both for ourselves as the physician, but also for our patients. And the problem is how to implement this into clinical life. What has been also emphasized, especially in the survey from the patients, is the complexity of this treatment. And maybe some tools, we have no time to discuss it, like telemedicine, mobile applications, may find a place to improving the implementation of the guidelines and the recommendation. I hope that a lot of this information and more details will be discussed during the next webinars during this program. So now I think I would like to thank you very much to the audience for participating in this webinar, as well as really distinguished faculty, and hope to see you soon during the next webinars.